Welcome back to the Enjoy the Walk podcast. Happy, midweek blues, I guess you could call it, Dante. We're halfway there. We're back to the weekend. If anyone's still counting days in their quarantine, maybe it feels like a Thursday for the rest of you. I don't know. Maybe it feels like a Monday. Who knows at this point?
I have no idea anymore. I really don't know what day it is. I was like, wait, it's Wednesday. No, Wednesday was yesterday. It's Thursday. Who knows? I just roll with it.
There has been many, many times where I've been typing out like on our Instagram stories, on Monday's show. And I'm like, wait a minute, today's Thursday. Today's definitely Thursday. It's not Monday's show. So yeah, it's I thought there'd be a little bit of sanity in, staying on track with our podcast, but it's just, it's a free for all. It's the wild, wild west right now.
Oh, for sure.
But speaking of the West and
yeah.
Out in the Midwest, happy to have our first Midwest guest on the show. This guy has been in and around the golf scene in Utah for what seems like an eternity now. But
I'm not that old.
Hey, it brought the Santa Claus beard on the show. I had to bust on him a little bit. But, happy to bring Jordan Bloxham on the show. Jordan's been around the game, whether it's in the professional ranks and the teaching ranks now for a very long time. So Jordan, welcome to the show. Happy to have you on.
Hey, good to be here. Good to bring some West, to you East Coasters, bring a little mountains.
Yeah. We've seen, time and time again on your Instagram stories and on your photos, there is something else about that Midwest golf scene, man, that just brings the views.
There's definitely some good views. I mean, obviously it's the Instagram life. You're not taking shitty pictures, obviously, but there's a lot of really good views out here. I mean, you're getting up into the mountains and so it's just really, really beautiful up here.
Yeah, there's something I'm always amazed about, and I think Dante and I have talked about this a bunch of times. Seeing the white caps when you guys have like 70 degrees down on the course, it's a pretty cool contrast.
And I don't ski or snowboard anymore. I had a snowboard for a while, but when it was only getting used once or twice a year, I was like, that thing's gone. I'll just drive 4 hours to St. George and play some golf rather than do that. But there are guys that will split it, and when it's that early spring, they'll go up, get some turns in, and then come down and get 18 in. So you can do both for sure.
In one day.
Well,
no way.
You're only 20. Like, depends on where you're at. You could go. One of buddies, he's Willow Creek Country Club, but if you could get from Willow Creek Country Club up to one of the ski resorts in 20 minutes. And then back.
Wow, what a life!
I mean, you can get it in no problem. So
is it like two different seasons too? Once you go up there, like I know some areas.
You're getting some. I mean, sometimes you'll get the storms that'll roll in, and all they'll do is they'll stay up high, and you'll get snow up there, and then you'll be fine down in the valley. But it's usually pretty similar weather conditions.
Now that's funny. And how long does that last? Because on the East Coast, we had an interview with a episode, I think 4 or 5 from just outside of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, Liberty Mountain Resort.
Yeah,
the work there, we would get maybe a week of that during the year. How often can you do that in Utah?
I mean, still. It's been like right now. I mean, there's guys. Depends on how hardcore you are with the skiing, right? And obviously, all the ski resorts right now are shut down. But I mean, you'd probably have a good another month of skiing where you could get skiing up there. So, and we've been playing golf, for a month and a half of really solid golf. So there's times where you can get 2+ months of doing both if you wanted to.
That's pretty sweet. And that's unique. There's not too many places in the country that can say you can do that for such an extended period of time.
Yeah, well, being here in Salt Lake, it's just the proximity to the ski resorts is so close, which is why it's so easy to do both if you want to.
That's awesome. So now take us through, like, kind of where you started. You were born and raised in Utah?
Born and raised in Utah, born and raised in Salt Lake Valley. Just grew up. My parents started golf late. I mean, they just started playing for fun and stuck clubs in our hands, and we just hit balls around the yard and had the plastic clubs, plastic balls, graduated to the cut down junior set, and like 3 and 4, and just hitting them around the yard. We had an unfinished fence on one side, so we just all the way around the back to the front. There was like a hole, so we'd create holes out of it and just hit it around the yard. I'm sure we probably pissed off some neighbors, because I'm sure there were some errant ones at that point. But that's how I got my start, is just doing that. My parents were like, "Oh, this is really fun," and so they just got us into it. And I mean, started playing tournaments at 5, junior tournaments, and just kind of caught the bug, and it's never left. I had a 2-year stretch at some point where I got burnout when I stopped playing professionally for a little bit. But other than that, that's like day one when the club was in my hand. It's been a fixture. So
That's pretty cool. And I love the fact that the bug was kind of caught off the golf course. Like it was just kind of like this makeup, you little, chip and putt basically in your
Pretty much.
backyard. That's pretty sweet. Cause like so many people, they're like, oh, like my bug was caught on the course, and my bug was caught, when I hit this par 3, I hit the green or something like that. But it was in your backyard with a little makeshift chip and putt. That's pretty sweet.
Chip and putt. And like I said, and I don't remember a time when like golf wasn't like what I was going to do in some form or fashion. It wasn't going to be a big part of my life, and which is, like I said, it's weird, but it's been, like say, day one. It's been that way. So.
Well, you can definitely tell the bug still got you. We've seen you kind of, out and about. Yeah, we've seen you out and about through all of this, these crazy times on the course, just about every day. You mentioned before we got on here, you've probably played more now in this spring than any other spring to date.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the things is I've made it a priority. Like this, I'm like, I didn't get into the golf industry not to play golf, and so I'm like, whether it's going out early, and this has just helped it be a little bit easier to get out, since here in Utah, where we are open. I can't think of one that's in the valley that's not right now. So, and then we've got St. George courses opening up the end of the week. So we're getting everything basically in the whole state back open. Some of them are like, hey, you have to be a county resident, just like, and we were talking about in Delaware and some things like that. But I mean, for me, it was a conscious decision to play a lot more golf. A goal of mine is to play every single golf course in the state. I don't know whether with all this going on, I'll be able to get it done this year, but over the next couple of years, I'll do that and document it. So
you guys are in a pretty unique state out there. You're kind of one of the, few places in the country that really haven't been hit too hard by this.
Yeah,
and you're, like you said, you've been in a unique state where you're starting to open back up. If anything, normal times are starting to come back. How many courses that, you said you're trying to play, how many courses are in Utah that you're trying to conquer this year?
There's over 100. I think when I counted them, there's like 107. So.
All right. Well, that's doable, and excited to follow along in that journey or in that trek, because that's pretty cool. And not too many people can say they've played all 50 states, let alone, all courses in their own state. I mean, heck, Dante, I don't know about you in New Jersey, but myself in Pennsylvania, I've conquered maybe half, and that's being generous.
Dude, there's so many courses in like the Atlantic City, Egg Harbor township area that's probably about 45 minutes, maybe 55 minutes from my house, and it's almost like a golf mecca. I know, and
I'm like 45 minutes. Come on.
Yeah, I'm like, how have I not gone to all these courses? There's just so many courses. It's almost like a golf mecca just in that area. Or if you were to look at kind of like Florida hotbed, where there's like a course every 2 blocks, it's like that down there. I'm like, how I need to make my way down there, and then I can go to the casino right afterwards. Lose money.
I don't know if that's such a great idea, but it depends on if you're winning money in the interim.
Yeah,
I guess. Got to get good at go out and hustle your buddies and then take that.
Yeah, there you go.
Spending cash to
at least get out of there even for the weekend, right?
Yeah, but I was looking at it, and I've played a good majority of them, and so, I mean, some of that is I played a lot in the junior golf scene around here, obviously, but I mean, just that, and then just making it a point to go and play and playing with friends, or just trying to. Well, there's some, St. George is about 4 hours away, and there's some courses on up and down that corridor that you're just driving by, and it's they're in little towns, and I'm like, well, I should probably play that at some point. But no, it's just there. And I was kind of how I got on that kick was I played golf with Tom Coyne in St. George, and he did his whole a course called Ireland, a course called Scotland, and then he's writing his book called A Course Called America right now. So I played with him when he came and hit the little southwest corner of St. George. And
yeah, for those that are on our YouTube page, I'm going to lean to the right here and kind of point behind me. Tom Coyne made this awesome giveaway way back, and I think you and I were both recipients.
We were both recipients, yeah.
Pretty sweet giveaway. But basically, he had an artist come through and do a rendition, this artist's rendition of hand-drawn logos from every U.S. Open that had ever hosted an Open. And boy, what an awesome piece. And I mean, just to kind of speak to the travels that Tom Coyne's doing, and putting every, last ounce of effort into this course called America book in 2021 that he's releasing. It's going to be a great read, I think, for any golf nut out there.
I don't know if you've read any of his books, but side note, the guy who did that is actually doing the rendition of, I think, every Ryder Cup thing. So he's doing a Ryder Cup one. I don't know if you guys follow him on Instagram, but when I posted the picture of mine on there, he, commented, and then so I just started following him, and so he's doing one.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about just like a guy kind of completely committed to the golf scene right now. It seems like everything he's doing, and it's time consuming what he does to get it right and to get all these courses perfectly kind of hand rendered on a poster like this. It's an awesome work of art. So yeah, it's good. I obviously don't have mine here. Mine's up in my office at the shop, but it's we need to get yours, get that framed, buddy. Yeah, I'm working on a frame here. We're struggling a little bit. The frames are not cheap by any means, and thinking about hand doing my own one here, but one way or another it'll be in a frame here soon, because it deserves to be preserved, because it's a beautiful work.
Yeah, it's an awesome piece for sure.
Yeah. But you mentioned a little earlier, and I want to get back into that. You talked, junior level golf and kind of traveling for junior level golf. You said you started the game at the age of 5. Did you see a lot of success early when you started? And if you did, kind of how did that transition into playing a lot of junior golf?
I did. I wouldn't say, like I said, it was always like at the top of the junior scene, like never really dominated, but I've never been the guy to take it super low ever. Like I will par the hell out of you. I was talking about it, and I played it with a buddy this last Saturday or Friday, one of the days. Like I said, days are running together. But and I think he rattled off like 6 or 7 birdies, and I had 0 birdies, 16 pars, 1 bogey, and an eagle. And it's like, that's just, I mean, I was like, I will par. If you need a par and you had to put your life on it, I will make a par for you. don't look for me to make a whole bunch of birdies. I'll go through it every once in a while where I'll go on a hot streak. But
did you ever go 18 pars in a row?
I don't think I've ever, that I can recall that I've ever done that.
Okay.
That I know of, but I can recall. I think I would remember that. I mean, I've been close. I mean, obviously that was one.
I will tell you, the most frustrating thing is someone who can go 18 pars in a row on you.
Well, because
as a competitor,
they're not making a bogey.
Yeah. As like me playing against you, if you're making 18 pars, like in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, I know I'm screwing up somewhere. I'm going to make a couple birdies, but yeah, I've played with kids, especially in junior tournaments when I was growing up through the game, that bugged the hell out of me. They'd par you to death, and they'd win tournaments. They'd win tournaments.
Steve from S. Putters 2 years ago, when he won the club championship at my course, first round, 18 pars. Yep, they call him Steve. I make par, Barry.
Hey, at least they're not bogeys, right?
Yeah, shout out to Steve.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, right? Like, at the end of the day, pars are better than bogeys. And what are you going to complain about? You'd love to make some birdies, but 72 on a par 72 is still a pretty darn good score.
Yeah, for sure. So
That's awesome. Now, going from junior golf into high school golf, we know you played some college golf, but how did that transition go from like junior to high school golf? Was the team atmosphere for you, kind of collective? Like, did you have a good team when you were in high school? Because
so in
it can kind of differ for a lot of people.
high school, it was like my first year when I was, I don't know whether you guys have in high school back there, whether it starts at ninth grade or you start as a freshman or sophomore. But when I was, me old man, you started as a sophomore in high school and you couldn't even play on the team before then. So as a sophomore, our team was pretty good. I came on and I was still the best player on the team. But we ended up taking second in the state tournament our first year in a playoff, which a team playoff is weird as hell because you've got like three guys go out and it's like a cumulative thing. And it was actually at the course that I played at twice this last week, which is where we had it. And we ended up, winning the second place, where you're tied for second and third. But then after that, it was just, the team was not great. I mean, we made it to the state tournament every year, but nothing fantastic. But it was fun. I mean, it was fun. I really enjoyed my teammates then and knew I was going to go to college at some point. Hated school. So that was one thing, did not like school. I've got some stories that we'll probably keep off air from my high school days that probably weren't the best as a junior golfer. But just transitioned right into college golf. Had a few offers, but like I said, school wasn't my thing. So that is part of it when you're going to a college. You have to have some kind of scholastic prowess, and that was where I kind of lost it a little bit. So I went to Utah Valley State. So it was a JC, but all I wanted to do was play golf anyway. And the funny story is about a week after I verbally committed to Utah Valley, South Florida called, and they were just starting their program. And I turned it down on principle, but I look back at that and I go, maybe, but no. It was a good spot where I ended up. So
I mean, born and raised in Utah, it definitely had to fit you well. And I know you speaking a little bit, it kind of hit home to me too. I was a borderline degenerate when it came to scholastics in high school. Sports were the only thing that mattered to me. And finally, when someone shook me to death and said, "Hey, I know you like sports, but in order to play those sports in college,
you still have to
you might want to work on that GPA a little bit."
Yeah, and it's definitely, like I said, it was one of the things that kept me probably from going to a bigger D1 school. But I mean, I look back at it now and I'm like, whatever. It was where I was supposed to be at that point.
Yeah, and I totally agree. It definitely worked the same with me. Where I ended up, where I ended up meeting Dante, it ended up working out for the best. I would not take a second back on my collegiate experience for the world. So it ended up working out pretty well. And let's get into that a little bit. You went to Utah Valley State.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you just said there was possibly the other option to go into Southern Florida, but you chose Utah Valley State, obviously in-state school for you, close to home. What was the junior college life like from a golf perspective there? Were you able to play a lot within that?
We were able to play a lot. The reason that we were in was actually we are the one Utah school in Phoenix, basically Phoenix area JCs, and then Pima Valley Community College, which is in Tucson. So I got to play quite a bit. We had a fall and a spring schedule. In our first tournament, which we went down to, I don't know, Ruidoso, New Mexico, just out in it's in the kind of the higher plateau part of New Mexico, and played there. And we actually ended up pushing the defending JC national champions, and we lost to them by 3 shots, I think. And so that was kind of a surprise coming. You got a school out of Utah coming down and playing pretty good. I think we had one I think I ended up top 5. Another one of our players ended up, top 5. But after that, it was kind of our coach, and I love him to death. Still talk with him now, but he was a baseball, basketball, football coach, right? I mean, funny story from that tournament exactly. I'm coming down, and I think the first day I'm a couple under going in with 3 holes to play. It was a shotgun start, so we didn't end up on 18, but there's like, and I think I make a double coming down, and so the first day and ended up shooting even. Next day I'm about in the same spot, getting to the same spot, and he goes, "Hey, don't do what you did yesterday." And I'm like, "Well, thanks for that, coach. I appreciate that." I didn't. I mean, I think I ended up shooting like 72, 73 for the tournament. Like I said, top 5, but it was just after that, and then there was a couple of guys on the team. It just kind of fell apart. We ended up going to the nationals that year, but that was another story in itself.
It's funny you mentioned that because our golf coach, the first year I stepped on campus, it was the first year of our program. Totally. The year before me, they were just club. And the coach at the time was the full-time basketball coach as well. So obviously great recruiter, very, very sociable kind of guy.
Right.
Golf knowledge. I mean, great guy. Love him to death. Still consider him like, family to this day. And but he had those kind of sentiments on the course too. It was very less like, if you had like a true golf coach that was talking golf psychology to you, it was like, all right, let's really think through this. Let's not use the negative words. Let's use the positive words. That was not my golf coach.
Yeah. And it was, like I said, and I still, like I said, we still talk at least a few times a year right now. So it's, like I said, it's not like he'd have any bad. It was just the way that he grew up baseball, football, basketball, coaching those, where you had to be kind of that hard ass, kind of tough on, and kind of you got to get that adrenaline going rather than, hey, look, you're doing great. Just keep doing what you're doing. Or, hey, you're playing good, just keep it going. So it was that, but it was, like I said, it is what it is. And I enjoyed my experience there, and like I say, not school. Enjoyed my experience golf, but not school again.
It's so funny, that contrast between sports, because not many people see it, I guess, or so many people are fans of like the adrenaline sports, whether it's basketball or baseball or football, that like they never like put together 2 and 2. They're like, I wonder if that coach ever transferred as a golf coach. Like I could never see like Roy Williams or Coach K coaching golf. Like that would blow people's minds of like, right. There's just 2 total contrasts. And it seems like we both kind of had those guys coach our golf team.
And I think in smaller programs, I think you're going to have them because that's what they can get. Right?
You see it a lot.
They're usually teaching there, and they have some coaching experience. So they're like, hey, we're going to pull you in. You guys some coaching experience. We're going to pull you in to coach golf. So.
Yeah, for sure. And totally at the junior college level and like the D3 level, which I went to. And I think you see that all the time. I think, guys are kind of shuffled around, or even women are shuffled around when new sports are starting, or, club teams are looking to become NCAA or, JUCO recognized teams. It's just, it's what they can do with the budget at that point.
Yeah, that you gotta go with more than one hat on, rather than like those top tier D1 schools where, I'm bringing this coach in. This is what he's done his entire life, and that's all he's going to focus on while his time's here. Because even some of those coaches, high school and even like smaller colleges, probably teach classes at the same time. So,
and that was our coach for sure.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Sense. I mean, it's funny how similar it seems like the junior college level was to the D3 level here, Dante. Because like it seems like one and the same, just a little bit of different recognition of national organization.
Yeah. Pretty much, that's what it seems like.
And the JUCO ranks, and I don't know if that's how it was, but there was some like kick-ass golfers. It was crazy. Like we played in the region with Scottsdale Community College and then Pima, and Pima had Rich Barslow who played on the PGA Tour for a little bit, was there. I played with for a year with Robert Garrigus, and he was down at Scottsdale Community College when I was there. He didn't like school much either. Like, we talked to guys, and they're like, I don't think Robert's gone to a class all year. But I played with him in regionals, and that dude could flat hit the ball.
You know, and it's funny.
Crazy.
It's funny too, because I see so many times, I think, in football, in like our area, Dante, in Scranton, Lackawanna College, junior college out of Scranton, Pennsylvania, sent so many guys to like NFL combines and like NFL teams. Like they're known in the JUCO world for like sending guys in the Northeast to like the Giants, the Eagles, you know, the Jets, whatever. And it's like from a junior college level. So, I mean, there's a lot of guys that, you know, maybe just at the end of the day, you know, aren't going to be your all American academic team, and have to go that JUCO level.
And some of it was there was a lot of kids that would come over from overseas, and they didn't have the credentials or whatever they needed to attend an American university. So they'd go out and just, flat dominate some of these JUCO tournaments.
Even on like, because I played lacrosse in college, and even on the lacrosse side of things, there is a Native American like reserve up in like upstate New York, and a lot of the guys, you know, and sometimes it just comes down to not just because you stink at school or you just don't like school. Sometimes it comes down to money too. Some people just don't have the funds to get into these big colleges.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even knock down the smaller schools or the JUCOs, because there were some kids that would go to on the lacrosse side of things, that they would go to, the goal was to go to their junior college for 2 years, and then in hopes to get like a scholarship transfer to, they always wanted to go to Syracuse. Cuse was like the place to be at. They ended up going to Albany and actually turned that team around. But besides, it's just wild to see. Like, don't knock on those junior colleges, because there are probably some kids that can ball out there on the golf course. And
some of it was that, or you just got some guys that just didn't peak at the right time, right? So there wasn't anything for them. So they're like, okay, hey, go here for a couple of years, and then if you're still playing at the level, right, they may have not hit their stride until after their senior year, and all of a sudden they just ripped up the junior circuit. But because they weren't playing great, they didn't travel, they didn't go to the AJGA tournaments, they didn't do a lot of stuff like that, and so you're just not getting the recognition that you're looking at that way. So then when you go, and then all of a sudden you're top tier there, then you can go, move on, and it may just be a year where then you transfer over to a D1 school.
Yeah, makes sense. Because even, like you're saying about the peaking, if we're taking one thing out of this, if you can extend your playing competitive career, go wherever you can to get those reps in. Because if you have the dream to, be in the industry one way or the other, keep plugging along, keep finding that, find that place that will accept you in order to allow you to get better.
Yeah, exactly. And there's some of it's true, right? And there's, like I said, there's pros and cons. I have a buddy who ended up going to, he's actually the guy who started Impact Golf Center that I work at right now. But he was one of the most highly recruited. He's a couple years younger than I am. He played a lot he kind of bridged the gap. I played a little bit with Boyd Summerhays. And then he played with him too. So Boyd kind of overlapped us. Boyd is a little bit younger than I am, but he played up all the time. And so they played with him, but he was, next to Boyd, he was probably one of the higher recruited juniors in the thing. But so he ended up going to Weber State. Some of it was female related, because he had a girlfriend, but some of it was the coach told him that he would play, and he had a chance to walk on at BYU. But he was like with the Miller boy, like they had a really good squad, probably the one that, is as good, if not better, probably about as good as they have right now. And they're ranked 17th in the country right now is what they ended up. But he was like, he went to the coach there, and they were like, you're probably not going to play for a couple of years. We just got, you got 5 guys that, unless you prove to it over and over and over again that you could beat them, we're not going to take them over you because they're proven.
And that plays such a big role in so many people's decisions of where to
Yeah.
go. Like, can I get that competitive juice flowing my freshman year, or am I gonna have to wait till my sophomore, junior year? Like,
Yeah.
that's a completely different scenario. Like when you got to wait 3 years to step on a competitive team, unless you're like really gonna ball your, your ball off
Yeah.
and like prove yourself worthy, then it's like, am I willing to wait 3 years? Yeah, it's
Well,
a
and
tough call.
I
It's
think
gotta.
there depends on where it is, because we've had some juniors that have come through that haven't worked with us directly, but we've known that have been. We had one that came through, and he was deciding between, like, I think BYU. He ended up going to Georgia Tech, but I'm like, why would you not choose Georgia Tech over like a Utah, a BYU, where you get you get a full year of playing, and you get to play at Georgia Tech where you have all those resources. If your goal is to take it to the next level, you've got to play against that quality of competition, whether you're playing or whether you're not. If you're going to play against better players, more than likely, if that's your goal, you're going to work your ass off to get better so that you can be the one playing in these tournaments.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely something to be said on, I think, both sides of the argument, whether it's like, choosing the place that, oh, I can play now. And then, like you just said, choosing the place that, all right, well, that's tour quality player right there. And I'm going to play against those guys and prove myself week in and week out against those guys. So it's definitely a toss up. And I think it's a huge decision for a lot of these kids coming out of high school that, really need to, I mean, it's sometimes a life altering decision in a 4-year span.
For sure.
So.
For sure. And like I said, and it just depends on what you want to do. If you want to go and you want to play for 4 years, then I'd go to a smaller school where you're going to play all the time. You're probably not going to get to play against the competition and things like that. But I mean, it is, like I said, I probably would have progressed as a golfer a little bit better if I would have went to South Florida, just playing on those courses and things. But I played against pretty decent competition as it was, just because we were in a really good region. And then we did get to play both years. BYU holds a tournament called the Cougar Classic, and lucky enough to get to play in it the one year that Stanford was there. I have played against El Tigre.
I was just going to ask.
Wow.
That was against the Eldrick Woods?
The Eldrick Woods, yeah.
Oof.
So
did he win that week?
He didn't. No.
Wow.
So yeah, he got beat by it was one of his teammates at Stanford that won it, but yeah, it wasn't
a little behind the scenes action there. Tiger didn't win every tournament he played in at that time.
He didn't win every tournament, and I was that guy. The guy from our paper was like, he's like, "What do you think about Tiger being here? What do you know?" And I was like, "He hits it far and straight." He's like, just like everybody else here.
Yeah, I was about to say.
But I'm like, I can't give – at that point, I'm competing against this guy. Obviously talent level superior, but I'm like, if I give an inch, I'm going to get my doors blown off.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, down the road, so many golfers screwed up when they came against Tiger Woods. You give him not even – you said an inch. You give the man – a millimeter at times in his career, from like 97 through 04, and then again like 07 through 09. I mean, you give him a millimeter, and it's over.
The mental, like, that guy mentally best ever, right? I've never been like Tiger fanboy. I appreciate everything that he's done and appreciate his game for sure. I've never been, but that guy would straight intimidate people. There were guys that had no chance when they stepped on the first tee with him, which was like watching the 2005 when he played with DeMarco in the final round. It's like, holy shit, DeMarco was balling that time when he like took him to a playoff, and I was like, you remember the shot on 16, but you're like, DeMarco hit some shots.
Well, and if he makes that putt, it's a whole different ball game too. But you just watched one of the most intimidating players in the world at that time on 16 at the Masters, coming down to the last 3 holes where you possibly can take the lead, sink the most impossible chip shot on you.
He did follow it up with 2 bogeys.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's, and you forget that too, right?
But you do, but that's
bogeyed 2 coming down the stretch, which was kind of crazy.
But I guarantee you, in that point in time, after DeMarco missed that putt, his mind had to be just spinning.
Yeah.
Because, like, at that time, there was just nobody, like you said, mentally, you step on the tee, nobody can beat him.
Yeah.
And they knew.
But if you saw it, most of the time, it was, like I said, and I'm not saying that Chris DeMarco had a pretty good career, but the guys that kind of stood up to him the most were guys that were a little bit lesser known, that were like, well, this is my shot. I got nothing to lose. And they just went balls out, where you had a lot of these other guys going, oh, I got my chance to beat Tiger.
Yeah, well, I mean, we just watched the the 08 US Open yesterday, and you got to think, I mean, okay, he stood up and almost lost twice to Rocco Mediate.
I know.
I mean, we're not talking a juggernaut in the game of golf with Rocco Mediate.
Like really solid players, right? And it's not the only one that I can think of. What CT Pan? How did CT Pan kind of figure in beating, or was it? No, not CT Pan. Why am I trying to? I'm trying to blank on his name.
What year?
He rose the golf bag. He was the weightlifter.
But it's like golfers that weren't there, but it's like they had really solid careers. Rocco Mediate, solid career.
Yeah, long time player on the tour, and that takes that says a testament to how well and consistent you play a game when you can stay out there for that long.
For sure. I mean, like I said, and you can attest to it, Isaiah. When you guys talk to him, he can attest to it. Being out there, it's rough, man. It's not easy, right? It's a grind. Not everybody. You see these stories, and you got these guys. But I was listening. Brooks Koepka was on with Claude Harmon today, but he was talking about guys that are on mini tours that he's like just haven't kind of put it together at the right time, that can flat play golf. Like, I know that there's guys that are out on tour right now, and there's guys that I know personally that on a routine basis beat the tour players. Routine. On a weekly basis.
Well, I mean, you put it in perspective here, and we see it kind of like on our side with the podcast and just mucking it up with guys in our industry. You look at who Kevin Kisner plays with all the time, Scott Brown. And now, granted, Scott Brown's starting to see his day. He's starting to, get into the WGCs and see his day. But he would go out, and he was lifelong friends with Kisner. And those guys would just battle it back and forth. But, like, Kisner would see kind of like the professional side of things. He saw success a little longer, I guess, than what Scott Brown did. And it's like, these guys are still they're neck and neck. They're always like, Scott Brown's probably beaten Kisner day in and day out. But when it comes down to the Thursday, Friday, Saturday tournaments, Sunday tournaments, Kisner just has a way of scratching it out. And it's only 3 or 4 shots.
Switch. Yeah, there's a mental switch. It's 1 or 2. I mean, you look at guys, and a local guy, Danny Summerhays, and he hasn't really been the same since. He missed the tour championship by 1 shot over the entire season. If he's 1 shot lower in any one of those tournaments that he makes a check in, he's playing in there, which gets him exempt into everything the next year. I mean, it's 1 shot over the course of a year. It's nuts.
I mean, and to go back to that, and I think, we've talked about this before too, but it's the guys grinding it in and day out to get to the Corn Ferry. It's the same deal. Yeah. It's 1 shot. 1 shot's career making. Think about that. How crazy is that? Amateur golfers can't even fathom that in a regular, they can't put it into perspective that, like, oh, well, over a 4-course day or a 4-day tournament, if I made 1 less shot, I have a career in the game. Now I'm selling insurance.
Exactly. And it could be one of a few things, right? There's so many different factors, but I mean, you look at a couple of, things. And it's why, what I do now, there's a huge, with club fitting and lessons. It's like, we're obviously not dealing on a day-to-day basis with tour pros, but there's some things we do that we're like, why are guys not doing this? If you want to play, if you're playing all the time and you're trying to enjoy the game as much as you can, trying to be the best you can, whether it's top level amateur, you want to be the best of your club, why are you not doing these things to help you shave those 1 to 2 shots around a tournament off of your game?
Well, so like take us through that, because you've spent some time in the mini tour life as well and kind of know that background. Take us through, what it's just like. I mean, day to day, people don't understand there's a pre-qualifier, a Monday qualifier, especially if you're starting out and don't have the points or don't have the pre, requisites. How do you start that journey?
You go into the things, like I said, back then it was, you go and, you could do Monday qualifiers. Back then they didn't have pre-qualifying for Mondays. But you'd go there, but you still have the stages of Q school, which, the 3 stages of Q school, which is now there's 4, because you got a pre-qualifying stage of qualifying school for the Corn Ferry. I mean, there's a lot more players playing now, but I mean, basically how I started, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I actually went and started in the PGA of America route, where I was going to get my certification. And I was out there teaching guys on the tee and go, this is an hour that I could be hitting balls. And so that's when I just gave it up, and I, caddied it, some clubs and just played mini tours, stayed open stuff. But went to PGA Tour Q school once, went to Canadian Tour Q school once, PGA Tour Q school. If you ever get a chance to get out to California and play La Purisma, be prepared to get your ass kicked if you're not ready for it. Right. And I didn't go in prepared, for sure. There's no doubt about it. I didn't go in prepared. It is a great experience, but the course is long, and it's usually some wind, and a really tough course. It's
now, what are guys that are actually prepared for that shooting? Like,
that one's a little bit
to get through.
I think it was like 4 or 5 overs through 4 days. Got through. It was a tougher one. I'd have to go back and look, but I was chasing, and it may have even been higher than that, but I think I shot 78 the first day and just chasing, which is not a good spot to be on a course that is as tough as that was. So I was chasing, I shot 78, 72, 73, and then another 78, just because at that point I was like, I've got to shoot 63 to even think about getting through first stage. And so it was a good experience. And then, Canadian Tour Q school, I played it down at Champions Gate in Florida. And I hit one shot that I hit it too long, hit on cart path and bounced out of bounds. And I missed it by, I think, a shot for qualifying for the Canadian Tour.
One shot.
That's that one shot. And I wish I would have been doing or had access to what I have access to that I'm doing for people now. And it would have helped. But I mean, like I said, it was there. I played some really good golf, kept it mostly in the Western states. Just, I was funding it myself, and that's never cheap, never easy.
Yeah, man. Isaiah talks a lot about us this year, or a lot to us, I should say, about just the expense of it. And I know, like, back in the day, just inflation rises. I'm sure it wasn't quite as expensive as what it is now, but like, even then, I mean, how do you go about self-funding, however many tournaments you played at the time?
Caddy, talking to people, and just trying to get little stuff here and there to play for tournaments. So you're just kind of moving, just scraping by. And I mean, where it ended up finally just getting me was, I had that. I was married and, had a kid at that point.
God bless your wife.
Yeah, she's a saint. Still to this day, dealing with me and golf. But just, you're doing that, you're caddying, you're just moving from thing to thing. And the biggest thing is at some point I was just like, holy shit, if I'm paid $500 for a tournament, if I play bad, it's either I'm going back to work, I can't play, doing stuff like that. And it, like I said, wouldn't change it. I mean, it was like 6 years pretty like full on, and then another couple of years just kind of not as hard at it. But like I said, wouldn't change it.
I mean,
for the world.
People always say, and it boils down to this, I feel like if you never give the opportunity to yourself to chase the things that you're really good at in life, and give yourself that at least opportunity to say, you know what, at least I did it. Like, and not back in the rocking chair in the nursing home at like 85 and 90 and say, well, I wish I would have done.
Yeah. There's a flip side to that, where now when I go out and I'll play a pretty good round, I'm like, oh, I'm not too far away from 50.
There he is. He's back.
I've done it a little bit more. But yeah, so that's where I'm hoping to get to, and, lower my low round. That's a goal of mine this year.
Well, that's pretty cool.
My career low round for my
and what is that low round?
65.
I got faith in you. You got 63 on the radar this year. I feel it.
The one chance it would be lower, but when I first got into it, I had to teach Nike junior clinics, and I don't know if they had them back but I was playing at a local course, and I was just out there playing, and I had course record in my sights, but I had to skip like 3 holes because I had to get in and teach juniors. That's a regret. I think I was.
Blame the kids.
But through 13 holes, I was like 9 under.
That's just one great thing about
golf. And I'm just like, why the hell did I just not play those 3 holes? I'm like, be 30 minutes late. Who cares?
I'll tell you what. That's one great thing about golf is the dream never dies.
It's always there,
unless you do. Then it dies.
Yes.
But I mean,
we just talked about Rocco Mediate at 45, giving a U.S. Open run nonetheless.
Yeah. Well, what it was, Jack was 46.
Yeah. See.
So it's always there.
Always there.
But
yeah, I love that. And I mean, speaking of the dream never dying, you're still playing on the Utah section PGA events and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What's the competition like in Utah from the PGA side of things?
Solid.
Are those guys still pretty solid sticks out there?
Yeah, you've got right now about probably 10 guys that are really, really solid. We've had it was I think 3 years ago. I'm trying to remember because we had 3 guys qualify through the CPC into the PGA championship. So we've had guys, I mean, that have been out there and had guys get really close, and we've had, Steve Schneider, he's won the CPC and, done a lot of stuff. So we've had there's a really good core of golfers here. So, I mean, if you're not going out on a daily, in a tournament, and you've got to be shooting, on a probably anywhere from, if it's a 2-day tournament, you're looking anywhere from 6 to 12 under to win. So it's not, there's not a lot of slouches.
No, you got to be golfing your ball to to get through out there. That's some pretty good scoring. But you talked a little earlier too. What I would love to get back into your teaching side of things. And you had mentioned, if the players would do the 1 or 2 things that you guys work on, specifically, it would probably be a game changer for them. What are those things? And what specifically are you talking?
That I was more talking like the club fitting side, like if you get it. And that's, like I said, I teach, and I'm getting a lot better at teaching and enjoying it a little bit more, but I would prefer to fit. I mean, you can see it doesn't matter who you are. If you like to play golf and you're serious about it, and that's what we've told everybody. If you're a beginner and you're serious about it, you're going to play 4 or 5 times a week. Why would you not want to set the match that matches up to your swing, right? So that getting, don't know if you guys have heard of SST puring, but that's.
I don't think I have.
It's a shaft alignment system. So basically, what we'll do is we'll get the club, get it the specs, we'll get in the shaft, build it to the specs we want, to the length that we want, and then we put it in. It's the SST Pure machine, and it analyzes the entire shaft, right? So it's basically you're putting it in there, and it's finding the spot that will kick and perform the most consistent. right? Just like, your wheel. You can drive a car that's not in alignment, but it's hard. You're going to let go of the wheel and it's going to go that way. Same thing. You get that oscillation in the golf head, and it just is a reduction of that, right? So if you guys have played golf for long enough, 2 to 3 degrees can make a huge difference on where that ball goes. So, and they've done independent studies with it, and it's for guys on the tour, it saves the guys on the tour a half a shot around, or I think a third a shot around.
Well, I mean, when you're putting a full weekend together, you as we mentioned earlier, the one shot. I mean, that's a career changer.
But I mean, in the biggest thing that you hear is, I'm not good enough. My swing's not consistent enough. It's more consistent than you think it is. It's just maybe not as good as somebody else's, right?
Yeah.
So there's some things that way, but the biggest, probably the biggest improvement, guys that are about 12 to 18 handicappers probably see the biggest improvement.
I was going to say I still feel like for some reason the most debated, controversial, it's just urban legend. I really don't need to get fit. I can still get something off the rack. Like that in the game still to this day for some crazy reason is just like the most talked about part of golf is like, should I get fit? Should I get fit? How do I get fit?
How much, if you just want to go drink a beer with your buddy on the weekend, then fine, don't get fit. It doesn't matter to you. But if you actually care about your game, and and we'll get guys that, it's too expensive. I'm not good enough, which, like I said, we've seen the most improvement from some of the higher handicappers. So that is out the window. And yes, if you do it the way we do it, where we're building it from top to bottom, where we're, getting in a raw shaft and building it from top to bottom, yeah, it's going to be more expensive. But I've had guys that have said that it's too expensive and they'll go buy 3 drivers in a year. I'm like, well, you just spent more than what you would have spent with us. And you could have a driver. We've got guys that we can't get them out of a driver that we fit them into 5 years ago. I'm like, so we just saved you money. Yeah,
you're
more upfront, but
yeah, you're preaching to choir here. I've been fit, and I was like a mid handicapper, and ever since I got fit, obviously I studied the game too to better knowledge the game as well. But a part of that saved a few strokes off of my game, and I was able to get down from a mid handicap to a single digit handicap, and it really does show, and this numbers don't lie, because when I was on the simulator, we took the clubs that I had that I got off the rack, which then I cut down about 1/4 to 1/2 inch. So I already just messed with the swing weight right there. So they were super light. And then, I was hitting them all over the place.
Yeah, you're just not timing it up.
Exactly. Finding, we found the shaft, we found the right club head, and then you just saw right there that the little circle, your dispersion just got that much tighter. And to me, I'm a big advocate for it, because I even I said, to me, I think one of the 2 biggest key components is shaft weight, and lie angle.
Lie angle can be a huge thing. And like I said, and so you got it, and where you got it built, the one thing that we do is, we build it to spec. So we take that custom and take it to the next level. We'll do tour level kind of builds. And it's it's people are for the first little bit, you have a little bit of pushback from the manufacturers. So they're like, well, we build stuff great. No, you're building it for the masses. You're not building it for one singular person. You can't build it as good. It takes us, if we're doing a full set from top to bottom, you're into it 3 hours. I'm like, how long does it take you to put together a set at, said company? 5 minutes. It's getting through, and it's not. We obviously use their components. They don't suck, right? But we're just finding something. They're doing a shotgun pattern, right? That's what I always tell guys that come in and get fit. When you go to, your big box store, they're going to put you in something that's a stock shaft that the manufacturer's made to fit a group of guys that's, a wide, right? They're trying to fit as many guys in that shaft as possible and get relatively good results. Where we're going for the rifle approach, we want to dial that in for you, right? We're dialing it in for Dalton. We're dialing it in for Dalton or Dante. I said Dalton twice. Dalton, you need help, obviously. But But so we're dialing it in for you, and the biggest thing is just your dispersion is going to go down. That's the big thing. After I got started working at Impact, and we started, I got my first set of like built clubs. The dispersion, like it's ridiculous.
So that's what I want to talk about too a little bit. Like, I feel like, when people think, oh, I'm going to go get fit, their immediate thought is, well, it's just swing speed. It's just regular shafts, stiff shaft, extra stiff shaft. Like, oh, once I get that right, it'll be all figured out. And it plays a little bit. Like, don't get me wrong. There's some guys that are in regular, it should be in stiff, and vice versa.
Yeah.
But, talk us through a little bit of like, okay, yes, swing speeds fit people minimally.
It gets you a general range of where they should be.
But when you start getting into it, like you said, what's the maybe highest kind of second thing that you do other than swing speeds that most people just, need work done on their clubs?
When you're doing it, I mean, you're trying to find the way. And it's like, Dante touched on it perfect. And we've got it if you ever get out there, you'll see it on our wall. And we've got our CPMs on our shaft, right? So we know exactly what they're built to. We've got 2 X flexes of the new Fujikura, the Motori X F1 and F3. Both they're the 6Xs. There's a full, like if you were looking at it on a scale, there's a full flex difference between those 2 shafts just because of their profiles. You can't hit those the same. Like I hit the F1 and I hit it like crap because I don't load it hard at the top. So I need something that's going to be a little softer down at the bottom to give me that pop at the bottom, right? So that's going to be something. How do you load the shaft? Swing speed is some of it, but what is your general shot shape? If you hit the ball left hard, we're probably going to look at something maybe a little stiffer just so that club doesn't kick over. So there's some different factors. What shot shape do you want to play? Do you hit it high? Do you hit it low? So there's different things. And talking with the guy from KBS, and he was like, I wish we could just put weight on there. Right? Because
that always blew my mind. Why don't they kind of get into that as well on their general club market? Like you have that little tape
OEMs.
around that says SF, it's ridiculous.
It's SX is all for the OEMs. Legitimately, he said if they didn't do it, they would have a CPM on there so that you would actually see that would be and it's a truer test. It's a truer tell of how stiff that shaft is.
Yeah. I mean, like you just said, you have two shafts that are technically stiff shafts, but completely function in way different qualities in the way that a ball flight reacts, and it's just, it always has blown my mind that information hasn't made it on a shaft quality like tape, that they use to name these shafts, because all right, great, it's a stiff shaft, but where am I getting,
too much work?
Swing speed, swing weights. I mean, it's just it all boils into something so different that like no stiff shaft can be the same.
Yeah, and it's for simplicity. Like 85% of the golf population really doesn't care about it. So what are the OEMs building for? They're building for that market. The guys who really take it serious will come to somebody like us and get it done right. And they'll take that into consideration when they're doing it, right? And to Dante's point earlier, that along with, and that's why at Impact we have both. There's a another company that's probably the largest fitters out there that all they do is fit, right? But we have a learning facility, so you can get fit, you can get lessons. We do all the builds in house, but lessons and fittings like hand in hand, right? And one thing that I would say that most amateurs don't do is they don't practice. like they think it's going to be a miracle. Like one lesson's like a miracle drug. But like, I don't know how many times I've told people, hey, if you give me 10 to 15 minutes of working on this a day, like not even a long amount of time, and the people who do it, the players, my students who do it, you'll see an improvement. The ones who don't, I'm teaching them the same thing the next week.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we saw that, and I think it was so true in the interview we had a few weeks ago with Ethan Smith. He's like, he works 3 jobs, but still gets time for golfing. And he's like, whether it's 10 minutes or 30 minutes or a full hour. He's like, as long as I'm working on the move or, just the action for 10 minutes a day is better than not touching a club at all. And that so separates just your general amateur from the guys that are even taking it semi-serious at like a local club for your club events. I mean, it just makes a difference.
Oh, it makes a ton of difference. And, just working on that movement, you have to have some consistency. It's like, you can't just like try to ride a bike once and then be like, oh, pro, right? You're going to have to practice with that. You're not going off
Dave
BMX
Mirra.
around. Yeah. So, and that's the big thing is just, people get mad. We're like, oh, he's not a great teacher. Well, maybe you're not a great student. And I hate to say that, but it's like, it's the truth. There are some students where and I've told them flat out sometimes, depending, you got to fill out that relationship a little bit, but I've flat told them, look, if you're not going to practice, we're going to keep working on the same thing over and over again. And
it's no different than going and getting like a guitar lessons or piano lessons. And my one friend said it best. He goes, the worst thing that students do on, when he's not like a professional teacher in the music industry, but he's knows a lot of people, but he said that the worst thing you do is, if you're learning guitar, is when he goes, don't buy a case, because what's going to happen is you're going to put it in that case and you're just not going to open it, and then you're going to go lessons.
You won't see it out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. So I mean, and it goes back to what you're saying is you got to practice, and golf is it's a long-term investment. So I mean, if you're someone that's willing to go out and say, hey, I really want to get better at this game, and I really want to focus on this craft, because it's a craft that you can do the rest of your life, go out and spend, like, it's going to be expensive, but it's gonna make up in the long run. So go get fit. It's a long-term investment. Go get lessons and then put the time in. Like you said, you don't even need to put in like 3 hours every day. Go and put like 20 minutes, and you'll get better. What, as Ethan said, he goes, I want to get 1% better every day.
Yeah. And I would say, and if you're the player that wants to go out on the weekend, and literally your goal is to get out of the house, to go have a few drinks with your buddies and not to care, then don't care. That's the one thing I get, is people get so pissed. I'm like, well, you don't practice. And
there's always that fine line between people who say, man, I don't get it. Why am I not getting better? Well, did you pick up a club between Sunday and Sunday? No. It's like, well,
there's one of and another one is the expectations. It's like, and I've told my students, they're beginning, you work with a 20 handicapper. I'm like, guess what? Your par is not 72. Your par is not 72. I'm like, you need to adjust that and adjust your expectations. You'll have a lot more fun. And I'm like, while you're learning it, literally, if you hit it in the water, put your next one in the middle of a fairway. Enjoy yourself. Put it on a tee. Yeah. I don't care, but go and enjoy yourself, because making yourself miserable out there.
The old coach I used to go to, and shout out to him, because he used to be able to snuff out the kids that he was just, having no success with, and basically call them out on their bullshit pretty much, and say, listen, like, I know what I'm teaching you is going to work if you would actually work on it. And they would see him once a month, maybe twice a month. Yeah. And in between the 2 times they see him a month, wouldn't work on what they would work on. And it was funny, kind of like just sitting, in the back end of all these conversations and hearing him, whether it was on the phone or in person, basically say, he's like, listen, I'm going to teach you for as much as you want to keep paying me. But if you don't work on what I'm telling you, you're never going to see results. And that's what it just boils down to, is like, you can go get lessons as much as you want, but if you're only practicing it when you're on the lesson tee, don't expect to see results.
Yeah. Not for a long time. You have to take a lot of lessons for that to finally pay off, because eventually it will. But it's a saying we use it there a lot. It says, like, you go slow to learn fast. But people just want to keep doing the same thing. They won't slow down. They won't do drills. They won't do stuff that will actually help their them mentally process the movements and the drills and the things that we're trying to get them to do. They just want to go full bore, 100% of the time, which doesn't work.
Golf's one of those most fascinating games and Dante can kind of speak on this as he was kind of reworking his takeaway, where when you really slow it down and actually just completely forget that the golf swing is a full swing and just break it down and take it slow and really get yourself into muscle memory, even if it's only practicing from the takeaway position to like a quarter swing,
Yeah,
and focusing on that, there's you can make a swing change so fast if you actually focus on the 2 or 3 movements or 2 or 3 seconds from takeaway. It's unreal.
That's what I've been doing for the past month, and haven't left my development in over a month. So
you need to get Dante out.
I know. But no, like I have a little spot in my room. I kind of opened up. They switched like work from home at the time, and I switched things around. I was able to open it up a little bit. So, I got that little like yardstick putter thing, but I'm allowed to take basically a backswing. If I take a full swing, I'm probably hitting that ceiling fan above me. For those who are watching it, listeners, obviously you can tell ceiling fan. We don't want that smashing all over the place. But same thing as I have a tendency to flip inside. So I've been slowly working on how to keep the club in the proper position and take it more on the outside, and then just kind of bringing it back up. But and then same thing, I'll go outside, and then luckily, like I guess the one window I can see my reflection, so I just literally just sit there for like 15 to 20 minutes if I have to. Sometimes an hour. And just sit there and just watch and just like look at where I'm going and try and get that feel. So I don't know. Hopefully, knocking on wood, we get back out there soon, or my ass is hopping in the car and I'm just driving south.
I mean, low key, let's talk about it real quick. Is the mirror the most underrated, piece of technology we could say?
It can be really good.
Help you get a swing fix in?
You can do a lot of good with the mirror for sure. Now with the smartphone, it's really easy to kind of do that and then do it. Because one nice thing about the mirror is, like I said, it kind of lets you focus on and see it while you're doing it. But if you slow it down, you can kind of watch that as is. But the one thing that people won't do is if me as an instructor is giving you something to work on, and literally we're working on the backswing up to the top, and that's it, right? That's all I care about, you getting in the right position at this point. And your 10 minutes, like I said, I've got a drill for you. If you just put a camera behind you and go, okay, I'm going to take this swing. This felt pretty good. Did I get in that position? You can go replay it back. Oh, nope, I didn't get into there. So then you go back to your drills. But incorporating both. But the mirror, it's invaluable. I don't know why. Like I said, it's an underutilized tool, and people just don't think about it. They just don't think about it most of the time.
I was recently at one of our, before we had all the shutdowns, a new place in town had opened up a simulator room above their bar. So there's 2 awesome big simulators, and they did it completely by happenstance. But the back wall are full length mirrors, and I was like, I don't know if you guys realize, but you just made the biggest, greatest mistake yet profitable mistake of your lifetime, because you can see every swing you take by just simply looking back at the back of the room. And they were like, wow, I never even thought of that. We just put them in there for, to make the space look bigger. And I'm like, as a golf nut and other golf guys that come in here and use the space, greatest thing you've ever done.
Yeah, it's good. And like I said, and you can attest to it, like I said, simulator, and that's where, like I say, we've got a 9,000 square foot facility, a learning, facility there. And like I say, I don't discourage anybody. Obviously, we've got our winter months where you can't go outside and play anyway. And we're jammed, like open to close. We're packed in there, right? As soon as it gets springtime, poof, nobody's there. We're like, well, you got this, and we sell monthly memberships. It's like, why do we not see you guys at least a couple of times a month? For one, you can you can spec your distances, you can get on the cameras and check and see, make sure you're in the right positions, you're gapping. You can just come in and get out of the wind. You can turn off everything so you know exactly what your shot's doing. There's so much benefit to being able to go inside and kind of turn off the elements, take away at least that portion of it, crappy turf, crappy balls, whatever it may be. But you just have that advantage. And it's like, we're come in here a couple of times so that you can enjoy your time outside better. But people just, I want to see the ball flight. It shows you right there on the screen what the ball flight is.
Yeah,
It's just,
especially
it
like you
makes no
guys
sense.
said, you have TrackMans. I mean, you got the best technology that, the golf industry could offer. And I want to get into that a little bit too. We didn't really touch on too much the Impact Golf Center, but how long have you been at the Impact Golf Center? And, what really do you guys work on with your clients all the time?
Day one. We opened in January 2005, and I've been, or 2015, not 2005. But so I've been there since day one. And really, it's like I said, depending on the need, our philosophy as a teaching is just to focus on impact with gradual rotation, throughout the swing. But so we teach a very similar philosophy from Derek Fox, the director of instruction there, to me, and now we're training a couple of other guys. We just, if you follow our Instagram page, we just started, one of our guys got TPI certified, so we're starting to do some fitness stuff. So we'll do some fitness stuff out of there. But club fitting is probably our top thing, and we're teaching a lot more, starting in Golf Academy, where we'll do like monthly packages and roll a lot of it into one. But like I said, it's just focusing on getting players better. I mean, if you're in there, a couple of times a month, whether it's getting lessons, getting fit, working on, we've got a place to chip. We got a putting green. We got a putting studio where we have a sand putt lab. So we've got everything there that you want to get better. And I think, like I said, we're both really good instructors with, training a couple of, mentoring a couple of guys coming up that want to teach, so that we can grow and do some things that way.
I was going to say, for those who don't follow you on Instagram, at Impact Golf Center, on Instagram, you guys have a damn good facility. I mean, everything looks still to this day brand new. The putting greens and like you said, the putting lab and everything. It just, you guys are bringing top-notch technology to anyone who shows up at your door. Yeah,
the addition that we did make was we've got, I don't know if you've seen, but we've got a shaft wall where we do our fitting out of 2 of our bays. We did make that addition. So we've done some things throughout, the course of the going on 6 years now that have really made it better. We brought in, obviously, Derek and I were doing the building, fitting, teaching when we started there. I will not tell you, I probably can't count how many times we were there till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to make sure that our clients got their stuff out. And so, until we started doing, as well as we are now, and able to hire, a builder that's full-time, but he's actually he's the one that got TPI certified. So we're going to do some stuff that way. But like I said, it's an all-around facility. If you can't find something there to get you better, then you're not looking you're not looking, because there's definitely a lot of good that can happen in that place for sure.
Awesome. No, we love to hear that. And, I think before we let you go, we got to speak to the hat that you're wearing. For those that aren't listening or watching on YouTube, he's got a classic Pinehurst number 4 hat on. Let's talk Buddy's trip to Pinehurst, man. How was that? How long ago did you go? And what all courses did you play?
So it was last October. Number 4, the color scheme is just awesome. This hat is like my favorite hat ever. But as a buddy's trip, like I said, I went out there with Derek, who's the director of instruction, who started it, his dad, who was a part of Impact and getting it started, and then another buddy of ours. And we just went out. It was in October. It was like perfect weather though. Holy crap. It was amazing. Like short sleeves, just perfect weather. We played 4, 2, and 8, and then the cradle. 2 it's like phenomenal. Like I said, there's not a bad hole on 2. I will tell you. I mean, but it will stomp you. Like if you get off, and I've heard people like talk bad about 2. We had a guy that he actually is a buddy of ours who runs Asher Golf, and he didn't like it at all. And he got
his teeth kicked in.
well, he's not great around the greens, and Donald Ross greens. So
Yep.
those mounted greens where it falls off, and you have to be confident in what you're doing around the greens. Like I said, I went around it, and I was, I think, I was 1 under through 5, and then have you guys played number 2?
Ooh.
Neither of us have been down to Pinehurst at all.
So number 6 is it's like a 220-yard par 4 or par 3 that falls off, and I hit just hit a hybrid. Didn't want to hit it hard, but got it a little floaty. Hit on about 10, 15 feet on, and nice little false front came down. And me being an idiot, took out my lob wedge and promptly had 2 come back to me, and then hit a gap wedge up to 2 feet. Made a smooth little up and down double. but as far as it goes, and tremendous, that course, like I said, if you hit a bad shot, you will get penalized. If you hit a good shot and you are confident enough to play to the center of the greens and not go in, there's a couple of pins that you can go at, but if you try to attack some of those pins, you're just going to get punished, because it's just not a good play.
I mean, and the way you describe it just seems like classic U.S. Open course, especially,
sure.
when it's tricked out, I'm sure, for the Open.
Yeah.
But, even on an everyday layout, like you just said, it plays like you would hear people describe a U.S. Open course, which is just so cool that it still plays that way off season or off, the big major event.
Yeah. And then, say, number 4, that was the first one we played, and it was playing a little soft, so it played really long, but it was a chill course, just eased. And I heard somebody say that if you play it, you got to play 2 first, because then, if you play 4 first, then 2 is, then you kind of get a false sense of security. But I really 4 was great. And if you ever get out there, number 18 on number 4 is a really good finishing par 4 on number 4. And I missed it left. And there's some pine trees obviously cut up, but I missed it left, and almost the next fairway over is I think Pinehurst number 1, their 18th tee, and I'm over there and I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, I'm either I've got to punch it through these trees and then have 100 yards there, or I'm I've got 195, I've got to hit a 60 yards cut hybrid. And I'm just playing with the boys. What do you think I'm doing? So I hit
Give it a shot.
The guys, there's a couple of guys, and he hits and he goes, "You make par from that, I'm buying you a beer." Hit it there and hit one there. It didn't quite get to the green, but it was the 60-yard cutter. Bubba would have been jealous. But I got up and down and ended up I think we ended up squaring our match. Like I said, there was a match that we had going between the 4 of us. But
so a beer was on the boys that night, not on you.
It was it was in the group number 1, and I don't know where he ended up going, but I'll take it in spirit that I got that beer from him.
Yeah, that's
but like
awesome.
I said, it's there, and it was busy. That was the one thing that I would say was a drawback to Pinehurst. The place was packed, and they did say that it was probably one of the busiest times when we were there. So it was busy between that and Bandon, which I went to a month earlier. Bandon, as far as just all golf all the time, Bandon's unmatched.
So we keep hearing.
Yes.
Yeah, the amount of people that have told us that, and we haven't booked a trip there yet, kind of still blows my mind. I mean, we'll get there. But yeah, that's awesome. And I think, both are spectacles in their own way. Pinehurst has such a history behind it. And,
yeah, there's a lot.
Bandon being kind of just the new getaway, I think, golf-wise, like you said, It's golf all the time. There's just no other option out there, which is cool. That's what you want a buddy's trip to be, is just golf all the time, I think. And
all the time. When I went out and played, I played 135 holes in 3 days. So that was it.
And most people would say, well, why didn't you get in more? It's Bandon.
Because there was not enough daylight.
But and that's cool. And I think there's such great courses in their own right. Pinehurst is great for what it is, and Bandon is just phenomenal for what it is. I mean, they're both awesome destinations. And I had to at least ask you how your experience was seeing the number 4 on the hat up there.
Yeah, like great in both, like say for different reasons, but really good in both spots. So
awesome, man. Well, hey, we appreciate the time you took out tonight to join us, and are definitely going to be jealous of you still being able to get out there on the course out in Utah. But hopefully, we're hopefully not far behind you out here.
Yeah, hopefully.
And, man, I just want to get back to golf. I know Dante's the same.
It's a sanctuary. Like I said, I posted it on my thing, and it's a sanctuary right now. I can go there, and when I go out on the course, especially now, like I said, I've made it a goal to walk as much as I can. And that right now, like I said, a lot of courses aren't even letting carts out. So it's walking only, so that's made my decision a lot easier, but just getting out there, walking, just being able to enjoy the golf course for what it is definitely.
And a lot of people we've kind of had on our side of things realizing how joyful walking can be. We've had so many people contact us and just be like, like I actually like enjoyed the walk today, like more than I thought I would have, because I've always rode in carts. I've always taken the, easy way out, I guess they called it. But like, I've always just done that because it was available to me. And that's just what everyone did. And now that we're being made to walk, like at first everyone was like, oh, we're being made to walk. Like this is going to be brutal. And then you get through 18 and you're like, well, damn, that was fun.
It's fun. And the thing about it is my last two rounds, and the one took a little bit, but they've been 3.5 and 4 hour rounds. So it's like, it's not slower.
No.
I'll
argue that it's faster if you don't know how to properly use a cart with two people.
Yes,
walking is guaranteed faster.
Yes.
And it allows you to be selfish. You hit your ball and you just beeline right to it. You don't have to worry about there's times I remember playing where I was in the cart with one person's left, one person's right. We go to the one guy who's right, and then my ball's left. I'm like, crap, I can't find it. Now I'm sitting there wasting like 2 minutes, 3 minutes trying to find my ball when it's in clear daylight, just because I lost the line of it off the tee. And now I'm sitting there wasting time trying to find where the hell my ball is. But if you walk, you just say, F you 3, I'll see you at the green. I'm going to my ball.
I'm going to go find my ball and chase that one. And
what a perfect way to social distance yourself. I mean, walking,
I can stay 6 feet away from anyone.
Yeah, you can stay 6 feet away from anyone, and especially if you spray the ball, you stay well more than 6 feet away from anyone.
For sure. Like I said, and it's becoming a little bit more of a movement for sure. I think it's becoming cool to walk again a little bit more, especially with, some of the bags that are being designed. For the longest time, you had just enormous bags.
The movement was cart bag central for a long time. Yeah. And we're starting to see it even just kind of, interviews we do with guys that are, pumping out Sunday bags. I think that's the movement. It's between McKenzie and Jones kind of going back to their roots and making lightweight Sunday bags. They've mainstreamed this, lightweight Sunday movement. But other than that, man, it's cool to just see, like, not only from the walking side of things, but like it's how the game I feel like was intended to be played. And you're starting to see a lot of people realize that and say, like, that was such a more enjoyable experience, whether it was walking 9 or walking 18, than if I rode 9 or if I rode 18. Like, I just had a better time, like, end all be all.
For sure.
So it's cool. And I'm happy to keep getting, people's, I guess, testimonials that saying they're enjoying walking, whether it's for the first time in a long time or for the first time ever. I mean, you got a lot of guys that just Sunday, or Saturday afternooned it with their buddies drinking beer that never walked before, that are being forced to it and having a good time still. So it's fun to see in the industry for sure.
Yeah. And like I said, and it's been a goal of mine. Like I said, I've got, just trying to walk. I've got an Asher carry bag, and it's got a stand on it, which is kind of nice, but I've also got a Ping Moonlight bag that if I want to go short set with it, but I mean, it's just, like I say, for me, it's just way more enjoyable than riding in the cart. There's some times where, like this, so there's some courses that they won't let you walk. They just won't let you walk, but you just have to deal with those courses as they come. But
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're a paying customer at a course, that you gotta abide by their rules. But if you can, get out there and walk.
For sure.
For the brand.
For sure. enjoy the walk, right?
Enjoy the walk, man.
We're all building brands, and like I said, and I don't know if you guys have followed, but I've started a couple of podcasts. And
yeah, I mean, let's get into that, and always happy to share people, getting out there in the industry. Where can people find your podcasts, and how can they follow along?
So the first, so I've got two. One is the Buttercuts podcast that I'll be recording here in about 15 minutes.
Nice.
And that's one. It's just me and a buddy, Joe Jack, and we're just talking whatever, golf. It's just going to be just talking whatever's going on, current events, fashion. He does a lot of the stuff for Asher Golf, so we'll talk a little bit about there. And then the one that I'm doing, going to be documenting the playing the Utah courses is called the High Swing podcast. Both of them are on Spotify right now. I think we got to change up the artwork on the Buttercuts podcast to get it on Apple, but the High Swing is on all the platforms that you're gonna listen to, and some that you probably will never listen to them on at all. But that one, and with the Hive Swing, we're actually doing the Hive Golf Club, which we'll be actually recording and telling a little bit about tomorrow, which will be a Utah-based, golf society that we're going to do some events and stuff out of too. So
awesome, man. Well, excited to follow along in that, and definitely, we're always on the search for, golf societies like that, or just common-minded people getting together to play the game. So I'm excited to help you in any way we can, to, push that and just see more people playing golf.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's what it's about. Is like I say, that's our whole thing with both of it. Golf is my life, right? So this is one way that I can enjoy that and share that, my joy and my passion with the world. So
for sure. And to build on that, where can people follow you personally to maybe follow along with whatever you're doing within your own journey?
At JBlox Golf, so it's at JBLOX Golf on Instagram, and then you can find it. I think it's a couple of other things, but that's my main platform is Instagram right now. So
awesome. Well, guys, that is Jordan Bloxham, master club fitter and instructor out of the Salt Lake City, Utah area. So if you're ever passing through, or just, you're already in Utah and looking for someone to help you better understand your clubs, your game, look no further than Jordan, and definitely tune into whatever he's got going on with
or
his
just
podcast.
Want to play around.
I'm just want to get together and just, hit that little white ball around.
For sure.
Flights are probably cheap right now. So.
Really cheap.
Flights are mad cheap right now.
So as soon as this is all, you're all welcome. You're all invited. We'll get set up.
It's on our list, and it definitely it's on a short list of places to be once this all, subsides. So appreciate the time tonight, man, and looking forward to connecting here sometime soon in the future.
Thanks for having me, guys. Always a pleasure.
Sir.